How much truth is there to the Ja Morant rumors? Would he improve the Bucks? And quite frankly, where do the Bucks go from here? 39 games into the season, Camille and I try to dig into the details. Coming up after this on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. My name is Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day each and every day, and for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network in the industry. You can find me on the Bucks Radio Network each and every game. You can find Camille's work on the Locked On NBA show weekly and the Technical Foul podcast as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Disappointing loss, to say the least, in Denver on Sunday night. You and Frank had to fall on that grenade and had the duties of the postgame. I'm just going to say this because I was talking with a few people in Denver, and two of them I had the privilege of breaking the news to that, add this name and this name to the injury report, and seeing their reaction was the exact same as mine, basically, where when I saw there was no Jamal Murray, I thought, oh boy, they're not actually going to do this, are they? And then, sure enough, 10 minutes in the game, you thought, oh, they are very much going to do this.
Yeah, but then the second half happened, and like the third quarter, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the first handful of minutes in the third quarter, you thought, okay,
like,
we avoided it.
They're gonna steady this out. Like, they're gonna find a way to win. And then Giannis would sit back down, and it was like, oh, never mind. We have flown too close to the sun in this game against the zombie Nuggets. But again, down the stretch, even with Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins both having terrible shooting nights, even Kyle Kuzma shooting a bit below what you expect, the Bucks were in a position to try to win this game down the stretch. Yeah. And that's the part where it just feels like another one slipped away, where you might not have deserved to be in that moment at the end of the game, but you found a way to be back in the game. And just poor late game execution again down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what your parents would oftentimes say to you, of like, I don't care how you do it, just get it done. Like, yeah. Parents, bosses, whatever it is, people that you're working with on school projects, I don't care if it's done, just get it done. We've reached that point with the team too, of like, I don't care how ugly it is. I don't care who was on the floor for the opponent. Like, just start winning games, because we are now midway through January. So let me try to do the math here, Camille. 2.5 months into the season.
Yeah.
Almost 3 complete months into the season. Next week will be 3 months. They still don't have a win streak. And you have Giannis on your team. He's missed a lot of time. You've had Giannis for half of these games, and you have not put together a win streak. That, more than anything, is the most damning thing about this season.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think back to the beginning of the year when Giannis was like, hey, good teams don't lose 2 games in a row. And the Bucks did that pretty quickly. But good teams also can win, at least 3 games in a row, like trying to stack those victories. And this team hasn't done it yet. Like, we're at a point now where if you're talking realistically about the Milwaukee Bucks, they are what their record says they are right now in this moment. They are right now playing as a lottery team. They have not been good. This team has been playing I'll say it this way. They've been mediocre, because in situations where you're like, okay, they might not pull this one off. Sometimes they're like, hey, like the Lakers game was like, okay, Lakers were undefeated in the clutch, but you found a way to put it together, withstand this LeBron run here, find a way to win victory. But then they do stuff like lose to the Wizards twice, or other things like that, where you're like, it's just like this team has been playing mediocre at best. And it's like, with the guys on this roster, I still feel like the outcome should be better than what we have been seeing on a consistent basis. But if the up and down nature of the season has taught me anything so far, it's just like, this team is just all right at best right now.
I mean, 17 and 22. For all intents and purposes, you're midway through the season.
Yeah.
And you have a losing record. And it's not like, almost there, right? Like, oh, well, just put together a win streak. Number one, as we addressed, you haven't even seen a win streak this season. So, like, we don't even know what they know what that means. You're 5 games below 500. And after you play in San Antonio on Thursday, you are officially halfway through the season. There's a chance at the midpoint of the season you're 17 and 24. And it's not just a chance, it's a good chance. You're 17 and 24 at the midpoint, which would put you on pace for 34 wins if you keep playing at that pace. I don't know that you'll keep playing at that pace. And we heard Doc partially in jest to say, like, well, if we just keep winning 6 out of 10, even though it's not a win streak, you'll be in a good spot. And sure, I think that would put you at 41 wins for the season. But do we believe, with everything that we've seen for the near 3 months into the season, that they can play at a 60% win pace here? That's the bigger thing with this group, because as good as Giannis has been, and as good as they have been in the minutes with Giannis on the floor, just every time, this is, to me, is the even more frustrating part of it. Every time you think they're going to win 3 in a row, this happens. Every time you think like they've started to figure something out with the non-Giannis minutes, last night happens. Games against the Hornets happen. All of that, where we heard Giannis after the game talk about what we've heard him unfortunately talk about quite a bit this season. And this team, how they need to play, which I don't know if this is Giannis signaling to his teammates, to his coach and coaching staff, to a combination of the two, but we've heard it far too many times that at some point you have to ask, why do we have to keep having this conversation?
Yeah, like, why can't we keep a lead? Why? I'll say this too, because I do feel like in this NBA, leads aren't really safe, where it felt like 10, 15 years ago, if you were up by 20 or so, it's like, okay, this feels like a very comfortable lead. You can kind of coast, but with the 3-point line, so on and so forth, leads aren't as safe. But, but we have yet to see like the Bucks put together one of those performances where it's a very comfortable game for them once they find a way to get up, because normally it's self-inflicted wounds for this Bucks team. You're going to miss shots. That's the nature of the beast, but the process behind the shot, like, that's what I always care about. Like, was it a good shot that was taken? Sometimes you make them, sometimes you miss them, but was it a good shot? And too often you see this team start to dissolve into an offense where it's too much ISO. The ball isn't moving. Things get stuck. Or you start seeing on defense the slippage, where it's like just not the focus for a full 48 minutes of playing basketball together. And those are the things where it's like, I want, give me a couple of games at least where it's like, all right, the Bucks are rolling, and they rolled the whole way through.
I agree with your point that leads aren't safe, and it can be fool's gold at times. Some may even say it could almost be like leading 21-3 at halftime of a football game. But the only way through pain and trauma, Camille, is with humor. So we have to lean in. What I would counter with is, when leads were safe, when the Cavs went up on you, 3rd game into the season, didn't look back. When the Toronto Raptors jumped on you on November 4th and didn't look back. When the Charlotte Hornets, the Bucks didn't have Giannis. Denver Nuggets didn't have 80% of their team last night. When Charlotte went up on you November 12th, didn't look back. When the Lakers came to Milwaukee, it was night 2 of back-to-back. They went up 20, never looked back. When the Cavs did it to you after Giannis went down and didn't look back. When the Blazers did it to you in Milwaukee. When the Knicks did it to you when Giannis made his return. When the Pistons did it in that second game in Detroit. When the Brooklyn Nets went up 30 on you and never looked back. When the Memphis Grizzlies did it the day after Christmas. We're seeing time and time again, leads are not safe in this league unless you build up a double-digit lead against this team.
I mean, that's a great point. As the list kept going, like, and it's another one. Dang, that's another time that happened too. Yeah, it's been one of those seasons where it just feels like it's been poured on again. At the way they've been playing, mediocre at best. This team has been so far, which I saw some numbers come out today from Bucks Breakdown on Twitter about Giannis's numbers per game. And something that me and Frank touched on during post game last night was that, hey, this game against Denver feels like a game for the first time really since he's been back from injury where Giannis is initiating the offense a lot more often than we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And we've heard Giannis in the media too talking about like, hey, I think the offense runs better when, I have the ball in my hand. He made the joke about I get 7+ assists. You see what the number is, our record is in this situation. But seeing the numbers actually put out in front of you was like, there has been a different emphasis since he's come back with how often he is touching the ball, how often he is having the chance to initiate the offense. And I do think the Bucks need to get back to letting Giannis run the show a little bit more often than what we've seen over the last few weeks.
I want to take a look at the Timberwolves because that is the next team on the schedule. And there's a big update from Minnesota for this game tomorrow. We anticipated to lead with it, but instead we got bogged down with what we're seeing from this team. But the constant smoke that still appears around one name on the trade front, we'll get into that and some other numbers to dig into and what we've seen trends with this Bucks team and individual players. We'll get into that conversation coming up next on Locked On Bucks. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building, the energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost you. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. You can find tickets in just a few taps and even see the view from your seat before buying, so you know exactly what things are going to look like when you get inside that arena. Especially helpful if it's a place you haven't been to before. Most importantly, prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. So whether it's an NBA game or another live event, everything is right there in one place. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in-network, nearby, with availability, but you also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next step. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. You can search for symptoms, specialty for the doctors, and quickly find the right fit. You're able to choose in-person or video visits, making scheduling even easier. And you can check verified patient reviews to get a real sense of the doctor's vibe and communication style. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/OnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. So the update for this game against the Timberwolves on Tuesday is there will be no Rudy Gobert. It was for the accumulation of flagrant fouls that he's serving a one-game suspension. On the flip side, Miles Turner is listed as questionable with an illness. That is what basically torpedoed his second half yesterday. I also found it funny. Now, we didn't get the full context. I don't know if you went back and listened to it, but we had some technical issues in Denver. So I only heard a brief portion of Doc's first answer, which was about Miles Turner, and caught the part where he said he himself was surprised not to see Miles Turner on the floor to start the second half.
Yeah, that made me laugh. And then I mentioned yesterday too, he talked about how Miles not being there did affect rotations and how we had to settle for less Bobby Portis and Kevin Porter Jr. minutes together because he loves that pairing together. And I was like, okay. All right, that's one you want to go with. Cool, cool, cool. But yeah, I was looking for Miles too because Miles got off to a big start in the game against the Nuggets, but then the illness took
Yeah.
over. So him missing this game on Tuesday would make some sense, especially with him trying to give it a go and not being able to finish the game against the Nuggets.
So this Timberwolves team that you're going to face has been playing pretty well of late. You're going to have to contend with some wings and Dante DiVincenzo and obviously Anthony Edwards, but no Rudy Gobert is interesting because by the numbers, and this is not just exclusive to this season, Timberwolves have been a much better team with Rudy Gobert on the floor than off the floor. Their offense goes up with him off, obviously. The defense torpedoes. So with Rudy Gobert off the floor, the Timberwolves are +2 in net rating, but that is with a 124.2 defensive rating. So the long and short of it, and with him on the floor, they're elite defensively and they're really good overall. +7.6 net rating, a 108 defensive rating. So you're going to have opportunities to get your offense going in this game with no Rudy Gobert.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see a competent offense and a very good offense at that, especially since we mentioned Miles Turner. No one else outside of the regulars is listed on the injury report for the Bucs.
Yeah, and that's the thing for this team, right? Where it's like you might be a little short-staffed in your front court without Miles Turner. There's no Rudy Gobert there. One thing we have seen this Bucs team at least attempt to do when they have the size advantage is to use that to their advantage. So in this game, no Gobert, you're starting to deal with Naz Reid and all of that, but it's an opportunity for this team to do some of the things that can ill them at times, being strong on the boards, just making sure you get out there because this is a Minnesota team that throughout the season has just been playing some really, really good basketball, like 6th ranked offense, 8th ranked defense, courting and cleaning the glass here. And over the last 2 weeks, that offense has actually been the second best in the league, plus 10.2 point differential over the last 2 weeks for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we know an offense with Anthony Edwards at the helm is going to be lethal. You have to make sure that you're on top of it. They don't turn the ball over a whole lot. They're not a team, even with Rudy, that's top of the league when it comes to grabbing those offensive rebounds. So that's a plus for the Bucs. We know that's an area that can be a weakness to them. And they're also middle in the pack of forcing turnovers themselves, which we know for the Bucs, when they're able to take care of the ball, get into actions clean, they can get the offense humming themselves. So there's going to be an opportunity against Minnesota because even in the first matchup against them this year, there was no Giannis in that matchup. So the Bucs have an opportunity here to, hey, we didn't end the road trip on the strongest of notes here. Went 2-2. You take 2-2, but 3-1 was on the table. It was gettable. It was doable. So it's disappointing that wasn't hit, but opportunity to win and also get a win at home and try to start getting that home record to somewhat decent because the Bucs are currently 9-9 at home right now, 500 at home. And they have to be better than that. So getting a win against a good team at home, I won't say be a good sign because we've seen them beat some good teams.
It'd be a sign.
It'd be a sign of life. A sign of life we need from this team.
So without Rudy Gobert on the floor, the Minnesota Timberwolves are allowing 32% of field goal attempts to come at the rim and about 9% of field goal attempts coming from the corners on threes. With him off the floor, the rim attempts go up to about 35% of field goal attempts, and the corner threes explode up to just under 14% of all field goal attempts are corner threes. So obviously, without that rim protector and what he brings defensively, you see teams challenging at the rim more, and that also forces the Timberwolves to collapse their defense more and open up those corners. And we've seen that's a favorite spot for Giannis to find his shooters. So I think this could be a big game for Giannis in the assist column tonight, whenever you listen to this against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, he's obviously going to have opportunity to eat at the rim, but this also feels like, what would be successful for the Bucs? Giannis gets like 25 points, but it's a 15 assist game for Giannis where, wow, they're just having to collapse on him and he's finding his shoot. So that's one of the things I am really focused on in this game. But yes, just competent offense in this game against a defense that struggles mightily without their defensive leader on the floor. We teased some trade chatter that we will get to in our final segment here, Camille. But since you mentioned the pairing, I'm assuming with a smirk that you had and laughing it off before, you looked it up or at least have a sense of how the Bucs have performed with the duo of Bobby Portis and Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor.
It was just what my eyes were telling me, Justin. It didn't feel like that was a top pairing for the Milwaukee Bucks off of just memory bank.
What would you assume is higher? The number, their number, not their ranking, their number in defensive efficiency or their number in offensive efficiency?
My assumption would be offensive, but since this question is asked, I feel like it's actually defensive, which is going to blow my mind.
Yeah, don't go with your instincts there. The defensive number is higher. They are a minus 4.6, which not awful. We've seen groupings that have had far worse numbers there, but the numbers dictate, and this is 700 possessions. This is not small sample size. Minus 4.6 net rating, and the offense has not been good. 111.9. So your defense has been what would probably be around like 16th, 17th in the league at a 116.5. Maybe there's something we're not seeing, but the numbers suggest this isn't a duo that has been great together.
Well, maybe it's just because the non-Giannis minutes have been so bad that just having it, even being the negative 4.6, is like, hey, we'll take it. We'll take it at this moment.
All right. The trade chatter that is out there with one name in particular. We will finally rip off that Band-Aid and get into that discussion coming up next on Locked On Bucs.
You know, I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. That's ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. Ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
All right, Camille. Can I interest you in Ja Morant?
Next to Giannis, no.
That's your hang up.
I mean, listen, I shouldn't say it's my hang up. Even if Giannis wasn't here, it'd be like are we getting draft picks back too for taking this distressed asset? He's a young player. I've been a Ja fan since I saw him cook Marquette in the tournament, because I was like, who is this dude? But this season for Ja in the last,
you became a fan when he beat your team.
Yes, I had so much respect for it. I was just like,
better person than I am.
He cooked my team, but he did it in such an entertaining fashion where it was like, all right, the athleticism, just how he plays the game, and he hasn't really had that same spark to his game this season. On top of that, too, the injury concerns that just come along with a Ja Morant, where it's like, we've dealt in Milwaukee already with having key guys be out during important stretches. I'm just not interested. And then when you think about the pairing next to Giannis, like I mentioned that there were numbers that Bugs Breakdown put out about just the touches for Giannis. And since the date of, when was the date here? November 18th, which coincides with the return of Kevin Porter Jr. to the lineup, he's gotten about 18 less touches per game. Giannis has in that sense. Passes made, he's made like 13 less passes per game. It's like almost 3 less assists. Like the ball's already kind of out of Giannis's hands playing next to Kevin Porter Jr. with the development that's trying to go on with him as a guard. And Giannis has mentioned he's understanding that's important for it to happen. But he's also mentioned, but I do want the ball. Like I want the ball in my hands. The idea of pairing Ja Morant next to Giannis, Ja, who's also a ball dominant guard, but this one, unlike Damian Lillard, does not shoot the 3 ball, does not have that same gravity to at least space the floor there. So I'm just not interested in that fit here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the big thing for me is just the on the court fit when you have 2 very ball dominant players that are going to occupy the same space. And, you know, at his best, Ja Morant was at one point, he was number 1, even in front of Giannis in paint scoring, but he was always in that conversation. It shrinks the floor even more when you look at some of the shooting splits from Ja Morant, and no one would suggest that is his strength, is the outside shot. So I just think that is my biggest hang up with this. I do feel like we've seen a lot of sourced reporting on this, that at bare minimum, the Bucs keep kicking that tire just to see what's there. And Morant, by the way, 31% career 3-point shooter. He's shooting 20% this season on threes. But Jim Owczarski had the story over the weekend, too, that he can confirm that there is at least some interest in there. The thing to me is this. We've talked about where this team currently sits at 17-22, and I do believe there's a great deal of desperation that is in there. You know, you've won back-to-back games 4 times this season. That is it. And nothing has gone longer than 2 straight wins. Of those 4 instances, there is only one that doesn't involve the Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets. It was the stretch when the Bucs were at their best, when they got to 4-1 and they beat the Knicks and the Warriors in Milwaukee. So I do think that probably increases the desperation, right? Especially with what's going to happen this year. We got to remain competitive. Let's try to build more talent around Giannis and bring in some young talent. And Ja Morant is certainly a distressed asset at this point. I also think with the discussions that are being had on Ja Morant and on Zach LaVine, not so much Michael Porter Jr., not at all Michael Porter Jr., these 2 guys specifically. What happened last week helps you if you're a team that is looking to acquire one of those players, because you can make and should make a case that from the start, there is no way you should be giving up any draft capital for these players. But now that you see a similar trade went down, and, you know, in the case of Trae Young, it could be an expiring deal. It's not going to be. I would assume I would assume there's going to be an extension worked out, and at bare minimum, he'll pick up the player option. But it's just 1 year beyond this. There's 2 years beyond this with Ja Morant, and it's in the mid-40s. Zach LaVine is 1 year beyond this, and it's a little more money than Ja Morant. But still, okay, there was no capital exchanged for Trae Young. It was C.J. McCollum as an expiring contract, and I don't know if I'd say a bad contract in the case of Corey Kispert, but it's the mid-level from now through the 2028 season for that player. That's what it cost, right? So if I'm looking at Ja Morant and I'm interested in him, I don't care how much you try to gas him up of, young talent, and we still love him. It just doesn't fit here. And boy, if you could rekindle what he had, man, you're really getting something great. But that's a lot of ifs. So there is no draft pick that's going to be exchanged here. That, to me, is what increases the probability for the Bucs to make a deal like this, to say, if we don't got to give up a draft pick and we just got to cobble together the salaries, everybody has pieced together how you could potentially do that as well. So I won't bore people with, well, this guy and this guy. But Ja Morant is making $39.4 million this year. So I believe you could get there with $32 million in the 125% that you're bringing back. If it's salaries, I get why you would talk yourself into it and say, look at what this guy was at his peak, and he's still relatively young. It's just the on the court fit that I really struggle with of, okay, fine, nobody's disputing the talent, but what does this look like?
Yeah. Again, especially next to Giannis. Giannis
Right.
is a very particular type of superstar that needs a certain type of guard next to him. And the shooting and the spacing has been one thing we've talked about, which again is why this season it's like the whole idea going into it was like, this is going to be an offense that is built around Giannis having the ball in his hands. This roster is constructed to put guys around Giannis that can shoot. So when Giannis creates the advantage, he kicks out, we get the open shooter, you get the three. We want more threes, so on and so forth. And to be fair to Ja, like if that's something that Doc wants his guards to do, which is touch paint and create, that's something that Ja could do with Doc as his head coach here in Milwaukee of, hey, you got the ball in your hands, create, put pressure on the rim, create for others. Because I think he's like a 7 assists per game, like career guy or something like that. So it's not as if he doesn't move the ball. Like we've seen Kevin Porter Jr. doing these actions of get to the hoop, create for others. Kevin was shooting the ball really, really well upon coming back. He's been in a bit of a shooting slump as of late, but the shot is respected. So there's some spacing there still for him when he's on the court. But I'm not sure if Ja might get that same respect. Like he'll put the shots up. I think he's still shooting like 4 or 5 a game right now, even though he's only making 21% of them. But I just, the fit in Milwaukee next to Giannis in particular, I don't like. While there are aspects of his game, like I said, that I think the Bucks could use, ultimately, I think the negatives of the fit outweigh what the positives could be if he was here. But I do think once he gets out of Memphis, if he lands in the right situation, I do think the numbers that we've seen so far from him this season, they will tick back upwards once he's in a different environment.
What how do we want to do this? What would you put the probability at? So percentage odds that the Bucks trade for Ja Morant. Because of the desperation factor, I'm at 40-60.
Oh, wow. You're high. I was going to say like 20. Like 20% or so, somewhere in there. Because, I mean, as you should, John Horst, do your job, call the teams, understand what the asking price would be. It's what you're supposed to do. But ultimately, again, I just don't know how that on-court fit works, especially when your superstar has been in the media talking about he likes having the ball. And as of late, in particular, you've heard him say like he wants the offense to run through him a little bit more. I just don't see how trading for another ball-dominant guard makes your superstar happy, one that has already been at the center of so many trade rumors and discussions about how he feels about being in Milwaukee, so on and so forth. So, again, to your point about the asking price for a job, because it might not include draft capital, it could be one of those buy low situations like, hey, we're going to take a shot at this right now. What do we have to lose? Let's see if we can make it work. But I just don't think that it'll work, especially no disrespect, especially with this coaching staff. No disrespect. Just what my eyes have seen.
It would, if it was just Ja Morant, it would have to be a 3-for-1 deal for the Bucks that they're sending out. I've seen others and talked with a few other people today too of like, what about this? And what if you got this, this, and this? But I mean, even some of the young guys, and you can look at, well, this guy's out of the rotation. He's still young and he still showed what he can do in Memphis. So like that changes the, what do we have to give up then? And then picks do come in to play. So yes, I'm still of the mindset that by statistically it would not happen if you're 40-60, but like it's inching closer to like, boy, there feels like there's a decent amount of smoke. And this is the exact type of thing of we could in theory buy low and add a talented player who's just 26 years old into this group. That's what pushes me closer to like, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's probably closer to a toss-up than a lot of us are willing to admit. Share your thoughts on that trade, any potential trade as well. Like on paper, it's more difficult, but on the basketball court, it's a cleaner fit with Zach LaVine. same discussion though of like, is this really what we're gonna do to steer this team into being a contender? Is the conversation that takes place with that one as well. We will both acknowledge that. But yes, your thoughts on the never-ending smoke that is billowing out of Cherry Street Pfizer Forum around the Bucs and reported interest in Ja Morant and others. Where you stand, what is the probability of that deal taking place? Coming up on tomorrow's show, we will have the recap of the Bucs and the Timberwolves. As we know, there will be no Rudy Gobert. There will potentially be no Miles Turner in that game either, but we'll recap the results on tomorrow's show. We thank you as always for tuning into the show today. Make sure you subscribe and follow us so you get all the latest episodes. You follow us on YouTube, you get notified when we go live, which we do whenever something big happens, like a trade deadline, the Bucs waiving Damian Lillard and signing Miles Turner, and we're now less than a month away from the trade deadline. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. You get Locked On Bucs ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. You can find the link to sign up in the show notes of today's description. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make that your second listen. NBA Game Nights on Locked On NBA. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucs.